How Bizarre is intended for mature, open-minded audiences only. If you are easily offended, we suggest you turn this wacky shit straight off.
You on the old bed of nails again?
Yeah, I was. And I knew it was risky because I relax on that thing to the point of falling asleep.
Just jackpotting.
Yeah, I've been jack popping. And I've been falling asleep on it the last few nights, actually. Woke up the other night, after being on it for probably 3.5 hours. And oh boy, the longer you're on it, the harder it is, the hurter it is to get off of it, shall I say. Your skin just
I can imagine.
Forms into the spikes. And
I gave it another, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, it's just, that's it.
I think I think about a week after I did it last time on the show, I sent you a picture and I was like, it's about to get real. It was like 11:30 at night. It was baked out of my mind. The only thing Ron saw in the picture was my bed with the blankets pulled back and the bed of nails sitting there, and a screenshot of the Jamiroquai album I was about to listen to.
Virtual insanity. And how did you like it?
But I gotta say, it wasn't. I have a really soft bed. It's like almost feather beddy, and that was a mistake.
Be tough
because it's not firm enough to get you to the point. You're just constantly in this limbo of ow, ow.
It's just discomfort. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Lyle, you there?
You guys hearing that crackles and the pops right now?
Yeah, I'm guessing that's John Mark's usual.
Crudackles.
I don't know.
What are you talking about?
Talking about.
It's so constant that I barely notice it until I listen back. But yeah, we'll just have him mute when he's not speaking. But yeah, the thing with the bed of nails, I did try it. I only recently tried it on the firm floor for the first time, and it's cleaner. It's a cleaner experience. There's way less. As you clearly illustrated on the live sit and sit and moan experience, it's all about not moving once you're on it. It's like being in an ice bath or swimming in a cold river. If you just hold still and suck it up, quite literally, when it comes to the testes,
Dude, I don't think I
do it all day.
I don't think it came through as dire as it was, that I legitimately almost fell right back onto it. Like I was trying to position my body with one arm and move something. And there was a moment where I was like, oh God, I'm going to fall like 1 foot straight onto this glass.
I think it sounded fairly dire. I remember having a righteous laugh about it. I almost fell back into it.
I was scared for a second. I was like, ooh.
Falling onto it is something I haven't experienced and do not want.
Maybe you should. Maybe that's the next step, the next stage.
Well, maybe it is
because your commitment.
You do toughen up. When I go to lay on it, I've been using. I started using Sarah's before I got my own, so I've been using them for 3 months now, or something like that. And so when I go to lay on it on my back, it's no big deal now. So I'm getting jiggy with it. I tried not standing on it, but sitting with my feet on it, my bare feet on it in a way that I could sort of lean forward and put enough pressure. It had an interesting effect, although it made my feet super itchy afterward. All those little injuries on your feet was like, when it started to heal, it's like, ew, that's kind of itchy. I'm not really digging that. I've laid on my belly with it too. The other day, boy, it was so tempting to send you guys a photo of my moon cratered ass, because I did take one. I sat straight. I put it on my computer chair, and I sat bare-assed on it because I read that is one of that as you toughen up, you are going to want to experiment, and to sort of keep that, you got to chase that dragon, I suppose. Well, I hadn't chased my nether dragon until a couple days ago, and holy shit, it's intense. I've had a little bit of my ass on that thing, just a little bit here and there, but not full on just sitting on it.
Did you procure your family jewels?
Yeah, there's no way around. Anytime you're laying on this, I knew that was going to be the first question. Anytime you're laying on this thing, you are doing so with intention, with thoughtfulness and with deep breathing and calculation. And never was that more true than when the boys were anywhere near it. So, I just kind of sat. I just straight up grabbed my junk and then sat down, closed my legs, and let the junk just sort of fall asleep on my lap, if that makes sense, with my legs closed. And which wasn't terribly comfortable in and of itself, of course, but it worked long. And, I only sat on it for about 15 minutes. But holy snakies, getting off of that was a different experience. I think it goes in a little bit deeper. I think your butt flesh is a little bit more supple than your back flesh.
You're sitting on it. You're like most of your body weight's going straight onto 1.2. Yeah.
And I was sitting upright. I was watching a documentary on Netflix and just kind of sitting there working through my breath. It was not enjoyable, but it took about 10 minutes for it to shift into that next phase. But once I got off it, I was pretty much pain-free for the rest of the night. And I've been having some migraines, so it worked pretty well. So I
got two questions.
I hope I have two answers.
Was it a different sensation? The sensation you got, was it different than when you just laid on your back?
Well, it's interesting. The sensation in the immediate zone, of course, is different, but the overall effect is the same for me. I don't know if it's that way for everybody, but you would think that if you applied those pressure points in different places, that it would affect your body in different ways. But to me, it all ends up feeling the same way. It's like your body just kind of gets flooded with those endorphins and those healing magical juices. And it all just kind of ends up feeling the same.
All right. Question 2.
Sure.
When you stood up, did the mat come with you?
No, because I'm always aware that that's
Clenching?
A possibility. So there's enough room to grab the side of the mat and then pop yourself off of it slowly. Now you did what I do not recommend at all. You just went fucking
fast. I was like,
cowboy off that shit.
Out.
Like you were bucked
Pull
off
off like a band-aid man.
Goddamn
I was
bull.
like, get fucked.
I highly recommend it. It sucks.
Yeah, that was a
just a
mistake.
slightly slow, and I'm just talking slightly slower. Just like one part of your skin at a time as you just like sit up. Imagine doing a kind of a slow ab crunch. That's how I recommend getting off of this thing. You just went for it, and it's violent.
Yeah, don't recommend
It's like an attack. Getting off of it, I think, is by far the worst part of that process, and it's something that I have not gotten used to. Unlike laying on it, where it's like I lay on it, especially on my back, it's toughened up, and now I just lay on that thing, and I'm like, instantly settle into it. It's not enjoyable for a few minutes, but it's not miserable like it once was. Whew, boy, not true with my bare ass. Cannot endorse that one just yet. I'm going to give it a few more goes and we'll see. But it worked. I mean, it all works. It's all, and it can't hurt to experiment with new parts. No pun intended. But yeah, for the love of God, do be careful when you are getting your precious beloveds. And this would go with any gender. Anything truly supple and in the danger zone, I would not want that anywhere near these fucking things, man. They are sharp. And, that's not the same kind of skin on genitalia as it is the rest of our body. It's decidedly more thin and sensitive. Say that again loud.
Is that on the old testes? I'm worried about you guys. I'm really concerned. I think you guys are going to start for the Pain Olympics or something like that.
It's a fair concern.
How people get to that. This is how people get into that porn where people are just kicking them in the dick over and over again.
Ooh. Yeah.
Step 1 is this bed of nails. Step 2 is the bare ass bed of nails. Eventually, you're gonna be like, maybe I can just put one ball on there. Well, just one of them. Then you're gonna be like full dick and ball, and it's gonna be kicking dicks. That's how we get there.
Yeah, and then it's just dicks and balls on the mat.
It seems like stabbing a juicy ripe grape with a fork. I feel like there would be a pop and a juice.
Oh my
situation happening. Like, I'm probably wrong, but I do not get your junk anywhere near this thing. And I'm pretty sure that mine is sharper than Sarah's, or maybe laying on it after a few months, maybe it slightly dulls it. But this one of mine, it is fucking sharp. You would think so. But this one is super sharp. So I could totally see it popping your grapes.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, you know the scrotum, it's kind of stretchy and whatnot. Batwing.
There's your soundbite. Well, you know the scrotum.
I think you'd be okay.
You probably would be okay. But man, if that pierced it,
woof.
Good night. Good night, world, right? I mean, fuck it. You got an injured ball. Get out of the city. It's time to cut it off.
Whoa. Wow. Extreme measures, man.
Yeah, there's no second gear for me. First and cut off.
Yeah. It's black or white.
Mm-hmm. I got some space news to get to tonight, but before then, anything you guys want to bring up? I did come across a weird story that doesn't fit with the space news that I feel like is something we should have talked about before. And maybe we have, but this is the tale of Canada's gaydar experiment. Does that sound familiar to you guys?
No, but I am listening.
I don't know.
No.
Well, in the 1950s, maybe it started in the 40s, but it really got going in the 50s and 60s. In Canada, there was a rather big wave of homophobic mentality especially in the military and in police forces. And so much so that they actually set out to come up with an actual type of gaydar, if you will, that could detect homosexual men as part of their application and interview process into these entities.
Oh my God.
And if that's not crazy enough, they actually used this system. Now it was officially, mind you, known as the fruit machine. You know, we often talk about Canada like they're possibly the better country of better people than the U.S., and maybe they are. But you got shit stains. You got some shit stains of your own up there, Canada.
No shit. This is interesting.
The fruit machine. Now, a man named Frank Robert Waite came up with a device, which is simply a dentist chair that you would be strapped down in. This goes back to some weird, like a red room type situation. And they would just monitor you, your blood pressure, your heart rate. And most importantly, they had a specific light that they would shine in your pupils to watch as they dilated. And then they would put up sort of mundane imagery in front of you and then move into some heterosexual porn. And then, you know, I know that we talked about, what's the Wormwood, that secret CIA agency? Is it Ultra? MK Ultra was, yeah.
That was acid.
Maybe that was it.
MK Ultra was the CIA LSD experiments, mind control.
Yeah, remember I did a whole show on them, and they were doing things like this to some degree. So we definitely were kind of, it was a tit for tat scenario.
Well, I wonder if it like inherently kind of attached to their genomes, and that's why they're so friendly. Because like they're always apologizing. They're always sorry, mate.
Sorry.
You know?
Yeah, you gotta love the old sorry.
But I'm sorry.
I almost literally wrote a fucking news quiz question today about sorry and how I think Canadian they legislated just not too long ago that it wasn't an admit of guilt because Canadians used it so much. Like they had
it's just like, excuse me, it's not.
It's like not an admission of guilt any longer. That you can
sorry.
God bless them, though. They're polite little individuals. I love them.
You killed my mother in her own house. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
Not admissible. Admissible. So they would watch their pupils and they would keep track of all this stuff. And they would slowly start introducing heterosexual porn and then eventually gay imagery. And they would record the data. And they actually used this to weed out the quote unquote gay men. Now, some might have been gay, but some of them were just had heart rates and pupils that change. You know, it was like such a ridiculous concept.
Well, it's like a trick, you know. You see like I'm trying to think like what's a good, like Sasha Grey, right? they're showing it on there, and then all of a sudden it goes into gay porn.
Yeah, it's a bit of a trick.
Your heart on. But
you're already all pumped up, so you're like, no, right?
Yeah, your heart-on's in its refractory.
I'm sorry,
sorry, but I'm still thinking about Sasha.
Any port in the storm.
I don't know. I think that's like foolery, a little trickery.
Yeah, you're probably right, but that didn't stop them from firing. Well, that did weed out people. You know, that if someone didn't respond appropriately, they couldn't get the job or they weren't allowed into the military. But also, they fired like almost 10,000 men specifically because of this test from their already established posts and jobs when the fruit machine determined that they were gay. How insane is that? And they used this all the way up until the 1970s.
Wow.
Damn.
So I couldn't really believe that. And yet I guess I could, you know. We do fucking crazy things. But it is interesting to hear shit coming from Canada, and maybe a little refreshing. I'm not genuinely calling you all as shitty as the United States, but it is refreshing to know that, yeah, we got our shit, but you guys got the fruit machine over us.
And then you also gave us Justin Bieber.
Yeah. And you did. Yeah. Say you're sorry for Justin Bieber and the aforementioned, this is how you remind me that you're not sorry. Yeah.
But we also got Voivod and Skinny Puppy and Rush, so that kind of balances out.
That's true. Good shit. Yeah. I wonder what the greatest thing, like, what would your favorite thing be that we got from Canada? I mean, it's hard for me to not pick Rush. It's one of my favorite bands.
Voivod and Skinny Puppy.
Lyle
Voivod
said
for sure.
maple syrup. Was that a Canadian invention?
No, dude. I'm a little tired, but I'm pretty sure I said British Columbia. That's a beautiful place, man. If I wanted to go anywhere in this world, I'd probably go there and dye my dyes. Dye my dyes.
I'm gonna dye my dyes.
I'm just here to
in British Columbia.
Kick ass and dye my dyes.
Try me. I'm not afraid to dye my dye.
It's a beautiful place.
I have spent very little time in Canada, and the only place I've really been was Vancouver. And it's a cool city. It's huge. I remember being shocked with how big it was, and we were just roaming around. This was pre 9/11. There's a bunch of drunk Americans roaming around that city at night. They had some of the most beautiful prostitutes and some of the most beautiful strippers I'd ever seen. The strip clubs up there were fucking phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And I was spoiled by them because my first real experiences in a strip club were up there.
And then you came to Washington.
I came to Deja Vu, and I was like, this ain't Deja Vu at all. I'm going to go back to that earlier vision.
What's going on? What happened? I'm having a drink.
It's not just the caliber of dancers. I don't want to sound like a douchebag. It's the vibe. There is something completely different about the vibe of strip clubs here.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. There's nothing about those places that appeal to me. Where we were having a pretty good time in Canada, and it wasn't, something about the strip clubs here. Now in Washington State, we have a weird thing. I don't know how many states have this, but we don't actually have strip bars. We have strip clubs, and you can't drink there. There's no alcohol. And I remember being shocked by that when I first came of age. But then the first time I saw, I think it was Great Falls, Montana, where I went to my first proper strip bar. And I was like, it was just a weird scene. It was too aggressive, too many men being aggressive. One thing that was happening up in the Vancouver strip bars is there was, I would say, pretty close to an equal amount of females in the audience. That changes the dynamic completely when you are talking about something like a strip club.
The 1990s. I used to date a lot of strippers, if you didn't know that. But like I said, every time
I didn't know that, and yet I did.
there was a lot of girls that just awesome, just fucking awesome. We would go up and go bungee jumping up in British Columbia, and I met this girl at the very beginning. And strike that, go all the way back to the beginning. We really, just our little group. There was a group of maybe 10 of us, right? We called and talked to the owners of this. It was called the Bungee Zone. was what it was called at the time. It's I think recently
Just talking
sold.
about that earlier. Mm-hmm.
But it was a woman that owned it, and she was like, you guys gotta stay here, camp here, dude. This is a facility. This is like a theme park, and she's telling us to throw up fucking goddamn tents in the yard. How cool is that? She gave us complete run of the place.
That does sound fun.
And
a bungee jump theme park.
Yeah, bungee jump theme park. Well, we were able to stay there, party there, set up our tents on the grounds, drink, no problem, just clean up your mess. There was a strip club bar there in British Columbia that some of us went to, and then we came back. But it was like all weekend, just chill, man. So cool.
Well, I will say this: when we were there, the only assholes that we encountered on the entire trip were us. It was a van full of
the whole time
dickheads.
We went up because we had girls with us, and we had a lot of drunk Canadian people. We would be like going in for beer runs and shit like that, and like one of my friends was accosted, almost had to fucking knock a dude out because he was like grabbing one of our girls' asses. I met a chick there at the very beginning of the whole trip, and you've probably seen those pictures of me bungee jumping.
Yeah,
she's the one that took them. I didn't know her from anywhere. I met her in a line, and the thing was I let her go in front of me. I said, "No, I'll go ahead. I'm kind of finish out signing my death certificate for jumping off this bridge." But like
chivalry I said, today, jumping your bungee tomorrow.
Let her go in front of me. She stayed with us the whole weekend.
Well,
it was awesome.
My experience with Canadians has been nothing but charming, and that's men and women. In fact, I remember one encounter where some guy just stopped and started bullshitting. I was like, yeah, people are friendly here. And then I was smoking a cigarette, and he was like, maybe it wasn't me, it was Jace. I don't remember. One of us were smoking, and he just asked for a cigarette. And then one of us was like, oh, you just stopped to talk to us to bum a cigarette? And it was kind of a joking thing, but he was incensed. But the way he handled it was, and I can't do his voice without sounding like the comic book guy from The Simpsons. So I can't remember if he sounded like that, or that's just how I interpret it. But he was like, no, I did not merely stop to ask you for a cigarette. You, sir, are an asshole, and I bid you a good day.
Oh, my God.
Word for word. That's what he said. Like, it was this close to whipping off. If he had a white glove, he would have whipped it off and I think backsmacked me, or whoever. It's probably Jason.
Was he like French Canadian, perhaps? Did he have like the?
It didn't sound French to me. It just sounded like it sounded incensed Canadian. he was 100% incensed Canadian, and just his feelings were hurt that we kind of joked about him stopping to talk and then only wanting a cigarette. But again, the only assholes that we met the entire time were us, except for my friend Jason. He won't mind me telling the story. I'm sure I've told it on the old show, but he tried to buy some Coke in one of the darkened alleys. At one point we ran out of booze and all the bars had shut down. This was like at 3 a.m. or something. We'd just been walking around all night, and he bought a bag of what he thought was Coke in this dark alley from some Canadians, and we proceeded to walk back toward the car. I still have no idea how we ever found our way back to the car. We didn't know that city. We didn't remember where we fucking parked. We just walked enough and found it. But on the way back, we stopped, and he kind of got his quote unquote cocaine out, put a little bit out on a little table or a little bench that we found, and he proceeded to snort a full nose full of laundry detergent.
First, oh my God!
He went like
some good Tide.
He went like this. Wow, that's Tide. And I was like, what? It didn't register until we got into the light and you could actually see the fucking blue dots.
Oh no.
They didn't even bother to get the kind of detergent that's all white because they knew at some point some dumbass American tourist was going to be desperate enough to buy some Coke in an alley. Yeah.
So technically, he's kind of like the founder of the Pod Tide guy. Right? He's like, he did it before it was cool.
Yeah, he knew the magic within. Started a whole new dragon to chase. Times. Anyway, so you guys got any news before we get on to a few space news stories?
I got one and barely holds up, but
another great soundbite.
Right. If you could imagine being on Twitter, this would be the photo or the quote to the tweet.
Oh, the twit.
Yeah, the twit. This just went up around the corner, and I have so many questions. That's what she wrote, and the picture inclines, and I won't get it to. But anyway, a Massachusetts realtor was apparently, I guess, like some people are actually leaning on the senses of property being haunted, and that's exactly what it says on top of the for sale sign. It says not haunted, and it says
sales
for sale
tool
underneath it. But they were
it's not bad.
Forgot to mention that they were doing it apparently to get more visitors in there and people more questioning. I don't know if it worked or not, but
I think it's genius.
I do too.
Yeah.
We're still crazy about all these ghost shows. I got tired of that stuff quite a while ago, but they're still going. I think most of us have, because there aren't as many. Doesn't seem to be as many of those shows or paranormal activity type movies as there was 5, 6, 7 years ago. Yeah, but I think it's a good idea. Yeah. I mean, so they're saying it's not haunted though. Not not advertising that it is haunted.
In quotes.
There's not a whole lot of meat to the story, unfortunately. It's literally
it's just a cutesy little marketing campaign.
She's like driving by and she goes, "Oh, I got so many questions," like she herself as the tweeter, wanted to go and knock on the door and find out if the place is haunted or not.
Yeah,
this kid's locally kind of by, but I don't know. I think it's kind of cool.
I think it's a great idea. The question is, would it be a smart idea to do that if a place was actually haunted? Like, it's cutesy to get people to come in and ask questions, especially if it's an older home. Maybe it's one of those kooky houses like mine that a lot of people just have questions about in general. Like, what is the story with that house? I can't tell you how many people have asked me about this house. Yeah.
I still think it's smart because A, they'll buy the house thinking it's cutesy, and B, when they come back and say, it's really fucking haunted. Be like, yeah, I fucking
told
said
you.
so. Like, it was on the
they
sign.
Even put it in quotes so you couldn't miss it.
Well, there was a couple places that were, and there were big known cases. It was this guy that used to go around. He's a middle-aged man. He murdered a lot of people with the time that he lived in this estate. This is a common story. Yeah, I'm sure anybody's heard it on like a ghost haunting story. But the property itself was pretty huge. They found like 12 bodies just within the 12 acres or so of the property. But there was also like a guest house.
Is that the one that the original American Horror Story was based on? I think that was kind of based on one of these true kind of stories, wasn't it?
I don't think so. This homeowner killed like a lot. He would go to the bar and he'd pick these, suspectful, maybe might be gay people, bring them home, get them drunk.
He needed the fruit machine to confirm or deny.
Yeah, where was that?
So he would lure him into the pool and he would drown him. And then do what he did with the bodies, and then bury him on the property.
Really familiar about that story, but
yeah, it's a really, really common story. I've seen it on different shows. But there was a guest house that was on the property, and this is actually when they were trying to sell the place. And the guest house was for a guy to live there, and he was a house like a estate keeper. He was taking care of the property till the property was sold, and he had bad outcomes and just in there, like of choking and stuff in the middle of the night. But yeah, it was a really, it was to say.
I like that. Bad outcomes.
Well, there was
relate to bad outcomes.
I can't remember if it was just somebody that was like part of the realtor place, but they had their kids there and they would go swimming like in the same fucking pool. and it felt like they were trying to be pulled down and drowned, you know. And there was nothing there, you know. They were just swimming in the pool. I wish I knew the because it's really famous. I mean, there's a lot. They're still finding fucking bodies, dude, on that property. Because I think the guy ended up killing himself. But
well, see, but when you got things like that are so famous and so over the top, like then you can cater to a whole different market. People that are attracted to those kinds of things, you know, just you don't have to be Marilyn Manson, you know, or who was it that someone bought one of these like famous murder houses?
Oh, Zach Baggins. He bought a couple different properties that were supposedly super haunted.
Yeah,
let me look that up.
Well, but the ones that I think are the trickiest might be the ones where like one person killed himself there, or you know there was like a brutal rape and murder that happened there. Something that's not quite. It didn't become the salacious sort of big story. We kind of talked about this last week with the idea of like Lizzie Borden. You can, with such a sensationalized story and, you know, something that happened back in the past.
Oh, you know what it was?
Do that trinket shop, tacky approach to it. But you can't really get away with that all the time. Here, go ahead, Lau.
So he ended up, remember the movie, well, it was the movie with the couple that went around with the hauntings. It was like there's a movie to it. There's like a sequels to it.
Yeah, Paranormal Activity.
Ed and what's his wife's name?
Oh, The Conjuring.
Oh,
and Shirley,
yeah. Okay. When they died, because they both died, Zach Baggins bought the house and with like the doll that was kept in the little glass.
Oh yeah, that was that Annabelle.
Yeah. He bought all that. So like all those, they spent a lifetime of dealing with hauntings, possessions, demonology shit, and they would take those artifacts and put them in a museum. And Zach Baggins bought it when they both passed away.
That name sounds familiar. Is that one of those ghost hunter guys?
He's the one that he's the buff dude from
he's the come at me ghost, bro.
That's the one I
was
imagining. Adventurer? Yeah, I don't know. I remember that show. I remember a lot of those shows and just being like, oh, boy,
he's down in
a
Vegas
lot of horse shit.
And he has a haunted house that he bought. It's a museum.
He belongs in Vegas.
He turned
it
the facility into a giant museum, and it's all staged to different hauntings and different stories of lore.
That's a cool
That's
concept.
pretty cool.
I like that.
It is, and it's outside of its realm. It's his personal life. You know what I mean? It's not like the old Ghost Adventures shit. It's something he took upon himself to do. You know, he felt like he needed to do it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's at some point I just kind of punched my ghost ticket, but maybe it can be rekindled, and maybe someone will tell me a ghost story that really speaks to me. I guess I've never had a hint of an experience.
Have you ever took a poop and then went to wipe and then put the toilet paper in the thing and there was nothing there?
Oh yeah, is that a paranormal?
Might be a ghost. Could be a ghost.
That's what I call the lucky shits. Those mean you're gonna have a good day. It's like one wipe and done. Shoot, pooping clean, pooping free, carefree, and yeah.
Care and streak free.
Well, come on, it's like the worst when it's the opposite, right? Okay. And you just like, what did I start wiping with a turd still halfway out my ass? When will it stop? It's like I'd much rather have the one wipe and done.
It's like rubbing the end off a crayon.
It's like, am I not done? Do I need to sit back down? What the fuck is happening?
Let go back in.
I would challenge that there is nary another podcast in the universe that has spent as much time talking about wiping assholes as we have.
You never know.
We should be rewarded.
Not one this popular.
One
we
more,
should be rewarded.
One more line to add to our tagline. The least successful, longest running, most shit talking, literally.
It's like, yeah, we've had more than our share. There is no question. But
Oh,
you know,
remember
we're
that-
just
remember that-
saying what's on people's minds.
Do you remember that Nirvana T-shirt where it was like crack smoking, Satan worshiping,
Yeah.
something motherfuckers?
Yeah, we need our own version.
We need our own version of that. Longest running, least successful, most shit talking motherfuckers.
I'd wear that T-shirt.
Fuck
Use
yeah.
the same font and copy the same design. Yeah, that'd be fun. 8 people would
Interesting.
get it. Well, less than that.
Like, yeah,
3.
it's like maybe 8 or 3
Mhm.
times 5,
8 or 3.
10.
Yeah. Anyone else before we get on to some space news?
Did any of you guys get a chance to watch any of that Oates Studios
No.
short films from Neil Blomkamp?
No,
No.
not yet. It's on the list.
I think I've watched it about 3 times now.
You want to share on what where you watch it, where you can see it?
Yep, it's on Amazon Prime for a few more days. Apparently, it's going away. I'm sure it'll be available other places online, but right now it's on Prime. And it is a compilation of short films. They're like special effects tests and just experiments that Neil Blomkamp has done over the last few years. And they are everything from basically short films that look like they could have been turned into actual movies or series, interspersed with parodies of like infomercials, like the infomercials for like the Ginsu knives and stuff like that. So there's one called it's called Cooking with Bob or something like that, and like there's like 4 or 5 of these Cooking with Bobs that just pop up randomly between bits, and something bad always happens to Bob. Like
so what's it called
like
again?
that
I'm trying
premise.
to find it right now.
Oates Studios, like OATS, Oates Studios Volume 1. And there's like a graphic with it's like a skeleton like skull with like a hand, like a skeleton kind of thing. And there's a couple of the short films that really stand out, and one of them is called Firebase, and it's set in Vietnam, and it's like there's some kind of supernatural thing happening at this. There was a supernatural happening with this one place. There's a big slaughter, and the CIA is investigating what happened, and just the fucking special effects in this piece are just incredible. And it combines like this weird like mysticism and like supernatural stuff with things that look like something that you would see in like the X-Files or some weird video game like Control or you know what I mean? Just like this just weird stuff. And it's not just like stuff that you've seen in the films that he's done, like District 9, but there's like all this weird, really experimental graphics and special effects that just kind of come out of nowhere. And you're like, what the fuck is that? Like, who thinks of that? You know what I mean? So Firebase, highly recommended, is one of my favorites. And then the last one is called Zygote, and that has Dakota Fanning in it. And it's like her and this other guy are on some kind of like a base on like an asteroid or like a moon or something, and there's a creature that's running loose in there, and she's trying to escape it. And I can't really go into too much detail about like all the details of the story and stuff. But yeah, I think there was some buzz about it like a year or two ago, but for whatever reason, I don't think I ever saw it. And it's weird because
were all these published? Are all these like things that have been previously released? It's just a collection, or is this some of this new content? Or
that's the thing, is that it's not. It's all just stuff that he put out on, like, he had a website called Oates Studios, and was where he was releasing this stuff. And eventually, I think they put like a DVD collection or something like that together, because I remember watching a bunch of this Oates Studios stuff maybe a few years ago, and I just watched the whole thing that's available on Prime right now. It was like the day before yesterday. There was definitely some stuff on there that I didn't remember seeing before, even though I feel like I've gone back and watched it a couple times. I think that I originally watched it on his website, And they probably added some stuff over time that they've done that I didn't see into this collection that's now on Amazon Prime. You know what I mean? Because there was a few of the Cooking with Bob episodes that I hadn't seen before, and I don't remember seeing Zygo, even though I remember hearing about it, I think, when he kind of put it on his website. But it's all available, at least for the next few days, on Amazon Prime. I highly recommend it if you're into weird sci-fi, kind of gory, just bizarre sort of stuff.
It's kind of interesting that even in this modern age, it seems like everything has found a home except short films. It's like they've always kind of been this little bastard child of the entertainment industry. And short films, like independent short films especially, is what made me want to be a filmmaker back in the day. And when I used to subscribe to the Sundance Channel, and this was back in the 90s, early 2000s, about the time that the tide was starting to change from the average indie flick looking like Clerks or, what's the samurai one? Six String Samurai or, El Mariachi, these sort of gritty 16 millimeter low budget films that were just special all on its own because it was a low budget thing and they had to work within those parameters. Then the digital cameras started getting more affordable, and the next level of special effects started getting, and then everything just kind of looked slick. And I always sort of mourn the loss of that era because there was something really magical about watching the Sundance Channel. They would play mostly features for the most part, but they would also there'd be some interstitial. That sounds weird. Short films, and you never know what you're going to get. But my favorite thing that they did, maybe this might have been Independent Film Channel, which started out great too, and then ended up being stupid. One of them did on the shortest day of the year, the winter solstice. They would do short films all day long. And I remember I used to get those 8-hour VHS tapes, and I would record the whole day because I didn't want to miss anything. I'd come back from work, I'd run home and pop out the old tape and put in a new tape and go back to work, and then I would get the whole day. That was so fucking awesome. And there were so many things because one thing could be like this heart-touching drama about a guy losing his dog, and then the next one would be like some sexual, like borderline softcore porn. And then you'd have something like crazy sci-fi, and then something kooky from the 70s or 80s, like Office Wars. Remember that? That was like one of the first parodies that I was aware of. Was it Office Wars? There was like a Star Wars parody.
Hardware Wars.
Hardware Wars.
Yeah.
And so you could just see just about anything. But they rarely, even when they would get those special treatments, and they give Oscars for short films, they never really had their place. And you'd think that now would be the time for someone, maybe they have, and I'm just not aware of it, but how cool would it be to like set up a complete separate streaming site that's just short films? I don't know that it would work with a Netflix model as well as it would work with a programmed streaming content model. Maybe I'm wrong. We have a hard time with that now because we're so used to just doing what we want on demand that a streaming channel thing is
on Vimeo, I'm sure.
What's that?
That's how it all kind of started, was Vimeo, because you could get better resolution on your upgrades than you could, or on your uploads than you could.
But no one knew about it. Vimeo was something that almost no one knew about. Everyone knew about YouTube. The filmmakers knew about Vimeo, and diehard, I guess, fanatics following some of these short filmmakers or independent filmmakers that were specifically putting their stuff up on Vimeo, because Vimeo's compressors and digital streaming, whatever they were doing, it was way better than what YouTube was doing at the time.
Doing it right.
Then YouTube caught up, and now it's everything's pretty much high def, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, there was a time when Vimeo seemed like they were going to be that thing, but short films are just kind of a tough sell. They're kind of a weird little animal, but they're incredible because they're short films. You know, we don't always have 3 hours to kill, but a 20-minute or 18-minute little mini feature can sometimes just be like the perfect little poignant. What was that? Robots. Was it
Love, Death, and Robots?
Death and Robots.
Death and
That's
Robots.
kind of their premise, right?
Second season just dropped. Actually,
Are
funny
those
you mention
all like
that.
the same length, or are they more of a short film? Like you kind of get what you get with each episode.
I think they're all done by different studios. It's like they
Yeah.
compiled them, and
But they're
you know,
probably
they, I think
are
they,
they
yeah,
similar length?
Different.
gave them
different
a
writers,
theme.
different directors. Yeah,
Yeah.
different
So
studios.
it's hidden
It's
there.
so cool.
It's a similar.
That is a mixed media, and it's wonderful.
Yeah. It's just interesting to me how short films are such a great way to make a thing, and they're tangible. You know, it's like putting out an EP. That's kind of a lost art too. Bands used to put out EPs because it was affordable to do so, and it was a way, without spending 20 grand, it was a way of getting a few of your songs out there for maybe A&R people, but more importantly fans and music venues. And you just send them your tapes, send them your demos, and then demos could become EPs that were actual releases. Kind of a lost art at this point.
Well,
we still put out albums, but I don't know if we're putting out many EPs.
To fall back on what you're talking about, what you're talking about is like about the time I got into like trying to do video and stuff. It was the very first Canon camera that I bought for myself, brand new, and it had video functions. And you look on the back of them now, and it's very little options, but compared to what they are now.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, I mean, you had to have a lot of money.
Are you talking like an SLR?
It's a DSLR, but back then what we were talking about is like when you wanted to do a short film or say like a video for a movie or a video for a band, local band or something like that, you would have to have a lot of money to dump into, what you were doing. They had handheld like camcorders and stuff like that might be able to get it done. But at this time,
and it would look like ass.
Well, yeah, they came out with the DSLR, the Canon. It was and anybody that knows this it's the T2i, and you could Google, go to YouTube and just Google or look up Canon T2i, and you'll come across so many videos of just random like music videos and stuff like that. Because at the time, that was the best tools you ever had, and you had them in your hands, and you didn't have to deal with film, and it was a beautiful, beautiful. Beautiful time, because there was a lot of independent people that made a lot of short films, and they made it on that camera.
You want to know the camera that was all the rage when I got into serious attempts at filmmaking was the DVX 100B Panasonic, and it was a mini DV, and the tapes. And the big thing about that camera was it was introducing the 24p setting in a prosumer level camera, which was about $2,500, I think, when it first came out. But the 24p was a big deal because that meant you could convert, instead of like the 30 fields per second or the 60 fields per second that video shoots, you could set it to 24.
You're not doing interlace anymore, and that's the big thing.
But the 24p blurred that all together, and it made it look pretty damn film-like. That's what I filmed Groom Lake in.
We get a beautiful image out of it, is what I'm getting at.
If you light it properly, it was surprisingly great, and in full anamorphic widescreen. It was a true widescreen lens. But that camera in about 2 years was completely obsolete, because that's when now people are buying them up. I still have mine. I'm considering selling them because I've seen people buying them for close to $1,000, which is hilarious for a 15-year-old camera. That is shooting on low def mini DV tapes.
Just another spare, But I still have my my handheld cameras, those digital like flip out, like with the Sony, the ones that you could see in the dark or you could see boobies. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like
the original Sonys that had the infrared. Yeah.
Still have that one.
A real phenomenon, folks.
I wanted to save it because I wanted to do like a Blair Witch Project eventually down the road.
Yeah.
And literally use that footage because it looks so so grainy, and I don't know.
The very first camera that I actually made a short film with, which is called Get a Job, with my cousin Bobby, who you know, Lyle.
Oh, yeah, Bobby.
I found this at Hooked on Toys. It was like this. It was $20. It was a Tyco, and it was just a toy. It had this plastic shell that made it look like an actual movie camera, but it was just an early black and white, very straightforward digital lens, and that just went into RCA jacks that you hooked up to your VCR. There wasn't even anything to record with in the camera. It's kind of like an early version of a webcam, similar circuitry. So we plug that thing in, we film it, and everyone looks terrible, but it's a lot. And that's when I realized, it was black and white, and that's when I realized this is kind of like an IR camera. And years later, we tested it because we had heard about that. What Lyle's alluding to, if you don't know, is that those early Sony handy cams that had infrared, the night vision settings on it, they later modified it when they found out people were doing this. If you used it during the daylight hours and you adjusted your aperture so that it wasn't just a whitewash, that you could actually see what was going on, you could see through certain clothing, especially if it was wet. Mostly if it was wet. Like if you went down to the beach, you can look up footage of this, by the way, on porn sites is where I've seen compilation of this. But you go to a beach, all of those girls getting out in their bikini, you can see right through it. Certain material worked better than others, but then Sony caught wind that people were doing this, and they made some sort of adjustment. I think that you couldn't actually run the aperture. There's something about you couldn't adjust the aperture to do it, but people always find a way. When it comes to titties, guys will always find a way to be creeps. But so that camera became super collectible. I accidentally destroyed the Tyco cam. It was such a piece of shit, but it had that same effect. It also did this thing where if you pointed it at material or a carpet, it would see stains that your eye couldn't see, which was really troubling.
Oh my God, that is so bizarre. I don't know if I'd like that at all.
You won't. And that was in my old apartment on Cleveland Street. And there was this giant stain that looked like someone had just shot themselves in the head and fallen into death. It was this massive, it's black and white, but your eye told you it was red. Just this giant fucking stain in the middle of the living room. And you could not see it with the naked eye. You couldn't see it at all. So I thought, well, that's really fucking interesting. What's happening there? And I think it's just it's kind of like, you remember those sort of using 3D glass looking things where in those old kids magazines, you could see there'd be a bunch of blue wavy lines, and you could tell that there was a red pattern happening behind that, but you had to put
the magic eye,
the blue glasses on to hide the blue, and then the red would pop. I think there's something like that going on with that particular lens, or the what am I trying to think? The iris, the electronic iris, was seeing certain colors and certain tones that, or wasn't seeing certain tones that your eye sees. So it just cuts to the chase and sees that fucking stain. But it really messed with my mind. But yeah, it made people look dead. It just it did something to their eyes. Actually, do you remember I posted footage of us where it was in my youth. That was after I had it when we moved into this house, but I'll try to find that years ago on Facebook.
Was it the footage of you just hanging out you had your hair and I think you were just smoking in a living room?
No, that was using a proper video camera. That was us in Tri-Cities. This was just me. We were doing some fake news bits. This just in, I think I was talking about Smurfs or some bullshit. I'll find it, because I did post it but you can see what I mean. It's not flattering. And that was when I was young and as handsome as I was ever going to get. And it just made you look, it did something with your eyes that it just made, it really enhanced your under eye circles, and it turned your eyes kind of like jet black. Like if you had the Black Death from the X-Files.
Part of the cure.
Very troubling. Yeah. Wow, I haven't thought about that. I'm gonna have to dig out some of those old tapes. Still got the VHS but that's a funny thing. Going back to I actually I had the audacity to enter that piece of shit movie that my cousin and I just improvised while we got drunk in my apartment on Cleveland Street. I entered it into a Seattle Film Festival and it got accepted. And so I entered it into a couple of other film festivals, and we actually won one in New Jersey. I've still got the paperwork somewhere around here. In the prize check.
I think that's where I was trying to go with before earlier when we started talking about the cameras and stuff, is that that it made it easier for people to enter, film festivals and whatnot. And they've progressed over the years. There's a lot of them right now that will, they're basically sponsored by all these high-end companies where you could get Reds, like the film machines, they're Reds.
Mm-hmm.
They're $10,000 fucking goddamn cameras. Rode is actually sponsored one every year that I could remember.
I used to enter so many contests. I did a Vans Warped tour contest once where I made a video for this band called Windsor, Southern California band, and that's up on YouTube somewhere. My first wife and Jefferson and his now wife, I made these stupid little B-movie robot costumes for them. And they're like duking it out. They're fighting over the damsel in distress. I guess I'll have to find that and post it too under the Facebook post for this episode. You can see one of my earliest attempts at really trying, which is saying something. It's kind of charming. It's a charming enough little thing. It's supposed to be like B movies and black and white and all that. But anywho, let's get on to some space news.
This is a really weird rabbit hole we went down with my talk about Oat Studios.
Well, that's the whole point of this fucking podcast at this point, ain't it? You bring something up, we talk about.
Yeah,
I mean, what else is the show? I'm curious to check it out, and I hope that I won't have to pay for it. You said it's leaving Amazon soon. I wonder where it's going.
It's leaving Amazon Prime. When I texted you guys. So what brought this up, the whole thing up, we were talking about Chappie and Neil Blomkamp and stuff. And I was like, oh, Studios. And so I was like, I should check that out again.
Yeah.
And then I watched it and I was like, holy shit, this is like even better than I remembered it. You know,
I looked it up and it's still there as of now. But like,
yeah. And when I looked it up on, it was like I think I looked it up on the Amazon Prime app on my phone, and it was like leaving Prime in 10 days. It was a couple of days ago. But if you watch nothing else from that compilation, watch Firebase. That you will fucking like just the special effects in that. You will just be like, holy shit!
You've got me sold on Cooking with Bob more than anything. I'm more curious about checking that shit out.
Cooking with Bob, it's fucking incredible. But it's like the short films, the short film Firebase I think it's a couple different parts, but it's like the special effects in that. You're just like, why is there not a feature film about this? Because this is like the most incredible shit I've ever fucking seen. It literally will blow your fucking mind. It's crazy.
Well, while we're on that topic, I want to put out one more thing that was very inspiring to me, because in my earlier days of filmmaking, I was also trying to do stop motion animation, and I made a couple of stupid little shorts. None of those are online, and there's no point in putting them up, but I was experimenting and building models and doing all that, making little miniatures. But one short film that I was blown away with, that really, I just think took short film and like stop motion photography to the next level, was a film called The Periwig Maker. Now, I don't know if this is on YouTube, but look it up. It used to be easy to find just about everywhere. But make sure you're watching a good quality one. I know I saw one on YouTube that was pretty pixelated. It's such a beautiful film. You want to see a good quality version of it. I don't remember it being, I don't think it was even 10 minutes, but it's a stop motion about set during the Black Plague. And it's just about, one doctor, one scientist making his notes about how to address it and how to, why are there normal things like filling a room with incense smoke and then flushing it out isn't working. It's really well done, and it's kind of a little depressing and dark, but I highly recommend it. It's a beautiful movie, and God, it's time that I watched that again. I haven't seen it in a good while. The Periwig Maker. Don't remember who did that, but I sure wish I did off the top of my head. But let's get moving on to a little bit of space news. There's kind of some interesting things going about, And the first one is something that we kind of talk about all the time. It feels like this growing amount of space trash. That's hard to say. It's like saying Manastash.
Sushi. I get it.
Up in orbit becoming, more of a nuisance. Well, the military is actually getting a little startled about this now. And U.S. Space Command Commander. Now, how is that for a job title?
No
Space
doubt.
Command Commander. General James Dickinson. Told lawmakers on Capitol Hill that congestion in space is mostly fueled by commercial activity. Could create safety problems if it's not managed. And I quote directly from the story here, which was off space.com or spacenews.com. We need a new level of awareness, Dickinson said. U.S. Space Command's traffic watchers at Vandenberg Air Force Base, California, currently track about 32,000 objects in orbit, including more than 3,400 active satellites. So that shows you how much is just dormant junk up there. Not even 4,000 of that. That's like 10% is what we're using. The rest is just junk that we can't come down.
Can you imagine just how many satellites that is, like, on ground?
Yeah, picture it like in some giant open desert
I know we had an
field.
argument with the guest one time that said you cannot see a satellite from Earth.
That's funny. I was just thinking about that guy. I can't remember his name. But he was a big guest. I'm like, I didn't say so on the show, but you're wrong. I'm pretty sure we can see satellites in space.
I've seen satellites go over the.
Well, he says you're fooled, Lyle. You are actually seeing. I don't remember what his theories were, but some sort of clandestine space doings. What do I know?
Monkey.
Space monkey.
What are the size of a satellite? Is it about the size of a motorcycle?
Well, it depends on the era. The newer ones, a lot of the newer ones aren't much bigger than a motorbike, but some of the older ones are closer to the size of a small house.
Okay, well, now tell me, how many satellites were up there?
32. Well, there's 32,000 objects that they are tracking, and most of those are, dormant satellites. Some of them, but not all of it. A lot of it is also when we send it, like when the boosters break off. There are certain things in, of course, different rockets have different stages, but in some of these stages, these things that break away, fall back to Earth, and they burn off and basically disintegrate. But especially some of the older ones, there were 4 or 5 stages that happened beyond that point, and the orbit started so high. And I think, from what I remember, they are getting closer and closer. Like, they eventually will fall, but we're talking like a long time. Something doesn't really stay locked in orbit 100%. I think there is some sort of gravitational pull that brings them slowly to Earth. But, as I've mentioned, if you get one of these space tracking space apps where you can just point it up, you're going to see stars, you're going to see the International Space Station and planets and all these cool constellations and shit. But the thing that you're most going to be startled by is all these floating, they have like little animations and graphics of these floating fucking dormant missiles and rockets and engines and just junk. So all of that is part of this debris. So they're not all satellites, but it is fascinating to know that out of all that shit up there, we are only actually using about 10% of it. The rest is literally junk. But it's all problematic because it's all in our way at some point. But they estimate the probability of collisions and send warning signs or warning information out to these satellite operators. That's the best we can do right now. Now, this guy noted that the 3 largest constellation of satellites today are operated by commercial companies: SpaceX, Planet, and Spire. He goes on to say, commercial opportunities open new possibilities, but can also complicate access to the domain with the proliferation of mega constellations. And that got me thinking about, have any of you actually seen the Starlink satellite cluster up in the sky yet?
No, not up in the sky.
I haven't either. I've heard it looks like right out of a science fiction movie. where it's basically just a train. You remember a long time ago I had that crazy UFO sighting that I was telling you guys about that looked like kind of a train of lights. This was different. This was like things flying sort of independent of each other and then linking up, and then they flew in formation and then one by one flew off. It sounds like it looks kind of like that, but it's basically this just chain of satellites that you can see sort of lighting up the night sky. And they're getting further and further away, so it's going to get harder to see them. But I had friends of mine, I think one of them was in Ohio, and he saw them, and he couldn't fucking believe what he was seeing. It was like, this is like the end times. Like he said, it was so bizarre to see something like that up in the sky. It's like one of those dreams you have. I have a lot of dreams where I can see the Wenatchee Valley just being invaded by, and it's not like Russian or Chinese helicopters. It's fucking crazy ass spaceships that are like so clearly spaceships, like from the future, from a different race of beings. I have so many of those dreams, and they're freaky as shit. I've seen it so many times, and every time I'm dreaming, I'm so convinced that this is really happening this time. I'll have to look into what that fucking means. But so I can imagine that something like this would kind of harken along that feeling. But anyway, in terms of, I guess to sum up, in terms of how to handle it, there's no real solid answers yet. So we are in a raising awareness state of the tale, I suppose. Now, this guy claims that better communication and cooperation between these companies, these commercial entities is the starting point. And it's like, I would have guessed that something like that would be happening already, but it hasn't been. We don't really have a ground control. Like, you can fly with relative safety because you have people who are round the clock watching they're tracking planes. They're, if you've ever seen Pushing 10, it's kind of terrifying. Don't watch it right before you fly. And it's a high stress job because especially if you're working in a very busy international airport, there are constantly planes moving in and out. You have to track them. We have software to help us with this now. Can you imagine doing this back in the analog days? Good Lord. But it was all down to radio at that point. But now it's still fucking chaos. Like these things, or it could be chaos, but we're tracking them 100% of the way. We know exactly where they are. We know exactly when they're going to land. Somebody can cut across a runway just seconds even before another plane is about to land. That's how closely we have this shit dialed in. We don't really have that kind of connectivity and that focus, and we're certainly not working from entity to entity with that kind of communication the way we have figured it out with ground control and airports. So I think what he's hinting at is that we need something like that. But I don't know how you really do that, because at the end of the day, with something like this, we're at the mercy of wherever these things go. You can figure out, the orbit speed and all of that down to a certain degree, but there are other things. There are other debris. There are natural debris, and chunks of rock and ice floating about out there that could knock something off its course. Two things could clunk into each other. And it really is just a hope and pray scenario when we send a rocket into space that they don't run into these things. And speaking of that, my next story is closer to home. Here's the headline: Astronaut with family roots in Soap Lake, which is about an hour or so from Wenatchee.
Yeah.
And Chelan, right? Which is closer, will pilot SpaceX mission this week and this is coming from iFiber.com, which I always think sounds like old people cereal more than a news site. But iFiber says she considers California her home state, but with her parents living in Chelan and extended family living in Soap Lake and Wenatchee, it's safe to say that Megan MacArthur's fan base words are tough all of a sudden. It's safe to say that Megan MacArthur's fan base saturates a portion of north central Washington. MacArthur will be the pilot of SpaceX's Crew 2 mission this Friday. Coordinated by NASA, the mission includes MacArthur and 3 other astronauts who will take to space in a SpaceX Crew Dragon spacecraft named Endeavour. at 5:49 in the a.m. from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. So Godspeed. The mission was delayed. It was supposed to launch today or yesterday, but it was delayed due to weather. So it looks like it's a go for Friday.
That's so cool.
Godspeed, Megan, on Endeavour's voyage. And it sounds like the crew will be up on the space station for about a week before they will be returning home. It's exciting to all of a sudden have space programs again, right?
Yeah, it really is.
It's basically all down to Elon Musk at the moment, much to Jeff Bezos's chagrin. Did you guys see that Bezos just lost out on another major contract that Elon got for NASA? The $3 billion contract to build the next moon mission modular.
God.
Yeah, and that's off the heels of Musk, already getting so many of these military contracts as well. So probably just the world trying to keep Bezos from literally running the entire galaxy.
Sure.
But huge fucking win for Musk and a big win for us to be going back to the moon. This could be interesting. And they're saying that the aptly named Artemis missions, which for those of you who don't know, Artemis in Greek mythology, or I think it's Greek mythology in general, was Apollo's twin sister. So it's got a neat little legacy tied to it just in its name. But test flights are set to begin as soon as this coming November.
A little tidbit on that. If you Soap Lake, I was just there not too long ago, actually. But there's a documentary. If you go to YouTube's, it's called Dirty Roads, and it's a documentary of Soap Lake, Washington, and it's very cool. If you really dig documentaries, it's fascinating because there was at the particular time back in the day, there was certain elements that were in the lake that was supposed to give curing. It used to cure people from a lot of sicknesses and illnesses.
Yeah, it's like one of those alkaline or whatever it is, medicine. Like
people used to get in their little Ford Model A's, back in the 1920s, and come clear across country. Get there, and they had a resort there. That was a beautiful resort at the time. Not so much now, but it's cool. Check it out. It's called Dirty Roads.
I would like to check that out. Soap Lake's mostly known now. I don't think they've built it yet, but they wanted to raise money for something that would make Soap Lake famous more than it's Soap Lake, which they decided on was the world's largest lava lamp. So they haven't built it yet. I was in Moses Lake
coming, though.
A few years ago, but that's the big. It made national news, so it did work. But they shouldn't have mentioned it until they should have just done it and then released it. Revealed it. I've got one more here, but I think I'm going to call that good because I wanted to talk a bit more about the moon. This flight will have both females and people of color. I should say women, I guess. The female thing is rubbing people the wrong way. Women and people of color. So on that level alone, it's going to be a pretty historic moment. But we're going to get to do this thing that we didn't get to do, like the people back in 1969, 1970, and 71 got to do, which is sort of sit out on the lawn, crack open a cold beer and just look up at the moon and know while you're listening to or watching the live footage of these people landing on the fucking moon. You guys as excited about that as I am? Because I think that is super fucking cool.
I'm excited for that theme of it, but I'm kind of also excited to see it debunk a lot of the people that think that we never went to the moon because
you want them to see the flag.
Belt.
Yeah.
No, there's a radiation belt that goes along there. What's it called? The Van Allen belt. It's nothing's supposed to live through it. So it's like, if we go through it, obviously nobody gets sick.
That's a good point. Never thought about that. I always thought to truly debunk those myths, you'd have to find the lunar rover or the flag, and it would be cool to find those.
Just getting there, brother.
But yeah, just getting there. I guess defeats a lot of those theories. But how much cooler would it be if they did find those? If they actually got there and like, hey, holy shit, here is the flag. It's probably long since been knocked over somehow. There is some movement, some type
know
of
what-
weather there, I guess.
You know, it'd be better if Neil Armstrong fucking actually left something there, like something cool, like like a Babe Ruth baseball card or something. You know what I mean?
Well, you know what Buzz
just-
Aldrin would have left is a fucking dick pic. Neil would have been a gentleman.
Big old
Buzz would have been
dick
like, "Fuck you, bitches. Here's my cock." Of course, we were here. Well, they had to
He just
have,
fucking
right? There
puts
has
it
to be.
in the moon dust. Makes a little cock angel.
the dick butt. You guys know what dick butt is? Dick butt is. It's a drawing that Twitch kind of was famous through Twitch. Dick butt.
Dick butt.
It's just a drawing. It looks like it's funny.
Hmm.
It was up
Don't
there
think
on the
I'm
moon.
familiar
It'd
with
be
that.
hilarious.
But yeah,
Google. Pull it up.
and you know, it's not like I don't feel any kind of. I don't necessarily want. Well, I think it would be neat for them to prove that we went there, but it would also be neat for them to prove that we didn't. I mean, I don't want anybody to die passing through the Van Allen belt, but
I hope blast through it with nothing and just say, "Hey, we're through it," and just kind of and keep on going. It'd be cool if, because technology is so good, right? Obviously now than it was in the 1960s. If you could get away with like maybe these binoculars and actually seeing them, are they going on the dark side of the moon or the light side?
I have no idea. And
Because
it's always
I could when I run a 200 millimeter lens on my camera, I could see, a 300
I don't
millimeter.
think you're gonna see them on the moon, but
I could
who
see some
knows?
shit.
You might catch a glint of something reflecting. You never know. But I do know that we looked this up one time. That like the most powerful earthbound telescope could not see a person walking on the moon. Like we're not even remotely there yet. But who knows if they
Like
could
space
pick up
shit.
something, like a glint of light. I mean, we've had our own, space explorers pick things up, like the shit, whatever was reflecting. Was it Ceres? Was reflecting something back. We're like, is that a body of water? But they're thinking that that's a pretty massive thing. So who knows? Probably not likely that we will be able to see anything with any kind of optical instrument. But the cool thing is, going to your point about technology, we have a lot of what we close our eyes and picture from those early moon missions. A lot of that was shot on film while they were on the moon, and they had to come back and then develop. That's another part of the conspiracy theory, is that even if the people survived, the film surely wouldn't have survived the magnetic field. But, they thought about that, and they had it in these foil packs or whatever, anti-magnetic packs, I suppose. But, a lot of that stuff that was video, people were watching in real time, but some of the more famous moments, it gets edited together with all of that, and we think that that's what everyone was seeing. But we will actually be able to see all of the details, like everything happening live. The question is, will we truly see it live? Will anything be edited or airbrushed? You'll always have your conspiracy theorists, and
Green screen.
well, God knows we got the technology to do it, but I don't know. I really look forward to. I just have that image in my head, ever since just really getting into the space age stories and becoming such a fan of Apollo 13 and, just sipping a lemonade, looking up in the sky and knowing that they are there is, I think it's something that I don't think it's as arbitrary or unnecessary as it may seem to a lot of people. I think that anything that can bind us together, I should say, as one people on one space rock is a good thing. And good Lord, just like they needed it back in the turbulent 60s, I think we could use a dash of that right now, and remind everybody that we are at least kind of all on the same team. But
It's rough. I'm getting like a whole mental image right now of, like how deep fakes are so good right now, is the moonlander landing on the moon and a drone coming down to meet up to where the door is, where it slides open, and it's fucking Tom Cruise. And he's like, "We made it to the moon, baby."
what took you so long?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited that we're even thinking about going back, and I would love it. I don't know why we wouldn't try to go back to one of those historic landing sites.
Well, I think so too. It just blows me away that it's taken this long. You know?
Oh, that which is, of course, helped keep those conspiracy theories alive. It's a good question, and the answer was, well, we've been there. We did whatever we could do. We certainly did with the technology that we had. We did a little bit of digging. We did a little bit of moon rock collecting. And then we came back and we're like, we kind of done it in a few missions. But
I want to know.
We got new technology now.
If there is one thing you needed to know, just one question that you know from the existing quest that we already gone up there, what would it be? Summary. Another example of with this next launch. I can tell you what mine would be. I want to know if the fucking moon bongs again when they land.
Yeah, supposedly when we bombed the moon to see if there was water on it, it rang like a bell. Well, actually, one of the earlier astronauts claimed that when they landed,
that did it
on the moon, that it bonged like a bell. Yeah, spurring countless theories about it being, a metal craft.
Well, that could be anything. I mean, that could be just big old iron deposits and shit. And
I do kind of like, yeah, well, who knows? And it could have been this fucking spaceship. Could have been this fucking skull going bomb. Exactly. Who the fuck knows what's happening in low G and you're landing on a fucking alien planet. But I do, more than even the hoax, like the we never went to the moon hoaxes conversation, I always kind of did like going down the rabbit hole of the moon being... One of the theories is that it's a spaceship. One is that it was towed into orbit. Why it was towed into orbit and by whom? Varying theories on that as well. But, going back through ancient scripts and writings and cave pictorials, there is a certain point where all of a sudden the moon appears. And it never really appeared before that. I don't know how. I mean, that's how the stories go. I don't know how accurate that is. I haven't chased down my own research, and there could be somebody saying that's bullshit. I can show you a drawing right over here on a cave from 1,000 years before that that shows the moon. But it's a cool thought. It's a cool thought that all of a sudden the moon was just there. It's an eerie thought anyway.
It's so creepy. The eerily thought about it is if it wasn't anywhere else than where it is, we wouldn't be here. Between the tides rising and lowering from the moon.
That's what I always don't understand about these conspiracy theories. It's like, well, so much of what makes Earth relies upon that moon, or at least is highly impacted by that moon. So what was going on before that moon was allegedly towed into orbit? Who knows? But I guess that's why it can tie into some of these ancient alien stories. But anyway, that's all I got for this week's Space News wrap up. So where are we at time-wise? Yeah, we're about looking good to get some weird trivia going. I think I'm going to take me a quick pit stop, refill my wine glass, and I'll be right back.
Samesies, yeah. Okay. Ooh, good stretch, guys. Ooh, okay. Woo, woo. All right, well, here we are again, guys.
Resetting the stage, huh?
Yes.
Can I remind?
Congratulations, Lyle, for winning last week. Is that where you were going with that, big guy?
That's right.
Yeah. I got you, boo. I got you.
Remember?
I'm savoring.
Hammered last week.
I'm not gonna let them fucking forget that, and I know that Jeff Hall is not gonna forget that. Speaking of, has Jeff reached out to you yet, Ron?
No.
Okay.
Not that I've seen.
Let's see. You want to do maybe let's say 1 month. And if Jeff, doesn't catch up within 1 month, I don't think we should be on the hook for a prize, for too terribly long.
Yeah.
It can be like some open-ended. All right. So I've got him down for 4:15. So by May 15th, if Jeff hasn't reached out, his prize is null and void. Sorry, buddy. Yeah. But hey.
Well, let's be honest. If he hasn't tuned in by then, he died. Or he stopped listening to us.
Yeah. Let's see. Stephen Moyers was a big winner too, and Jeff Hall. And if you've been polled for previous rounds, keep commenting because you get polled again. The only people I'm not going to pull in to win are the big winners, the ones that have actually won prizes, until we do a reset, and then maybe they'll get thrown back in the mix here.
Yeah.
Without further fucking ado, are y'all ready for this?
Going with the bass this time.
Cool. Okay.
Cool period.
Awesome.
It also works. Any normal, what is that? Not a superlative, but like any normally complimentary word or excited word said with the period.
Brad.
Just feels like a fucking diss. It's like it's worse than a fuck you. Like, yeah, I got a new job. I'm gonna be working at so and so. Cool.
Cool.
Awesome.
Oh, fucking cool.
It's like you could have just said nothing. Would have been better. Like, oh, maybe you didn't hear me. At least then you could have been an audio issue. All right, let's do this.
Forget. Side note. Whenever I hear that, I never forget when me and my ex Christina broke up. And it unfortunately went to one of those places where it got dirty for a bit.
Yeah.
And she was like blowing my phone up while we were podcasting one day. It was right after she'd left, like, so it was still kind of fresh. And so I called her up right after the podcast. And I was like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I was podcasting." And she was like, "Cool." I was like, "Oh fuck, yeah, that's right. That's where we're at."
Oh, those harsh days. Do you talk to her ever at all?
No, I don't. I always wonder how she's doing, but we don't. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
She has to move on. Do you talk to her?
Isn't it too bad? No, same. I wonder. I meant to unfollow her on Facebook because she was just posting a bunch of shit that I found irritating.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, enough of that. But I accidentally unfriended her. so I don't know if she must have reckoned.
I don't think she's not active on Facebook, to my understanding.
Well, no, I haven't. And if I ever ran into her, I'm sure we would be perfectly cordial. And
totally.
There was never any bad blood between us. But it's a shame that you can't just be friendly with your exes. Not always. Yeah. Not always. Sometimes, and then sometimes it's just, no, you need to live on separate planets. Yeah. Funny how that fucking works. Anywho.
Funny. Okay. So
funny.
Cool. Anyways, cool.
Cool.
You're funny. That's another good one. Wow, funny.
Yeah, can we
it's
move
very
on?
Daria way of saying
got
things.
other shit to do tonight, guys.
I mean,
cool.
Lyle.
Cool.
Sorry. Going on and on about fucking nothing at all. My bad.
I got some maple syrup over here, and I'm sorry.
I'm about to make you sorry.
Good. Yeah.
Okay.
By the way,
Here's the deal.
I do want to say sorry to all of our Canadian listeners.
Yeah,
we love y'all.
Okay, Lyle, since you won last week, you're gonna go first, buddy.
Oh,
you're gonna break the
thank God. I like not going first.
Yeah, Ron, you're gonna go second, and John Mark's we're gonna let him go last because if I'm not mistaken, it was a tie between Ron and John Mark in the end there. So John Mark, you get to go last, buddy.
Something different. All right,
it's a power play.
And here's who you're playing for, and this is again just drawn at random from our commenters on our Facebook posts. So make sure you've liked How Bizarre Podcast on Facebook, and you're leaving a comment, even if it was "ha funny" or somebody left a really funny one. God, I got to start actually reading these off. I'll be prepared at one point. But anyways, we like the comments. And today, Lyle, you're going to be playing for Cynthia Peterson. Ron's playing for Ben Morhaime. And John Mark is playing for Katie Sergiev. I think I got it right.
Is that right? I keep thinking it's Sergev.
Fuck. Sergeev. Nailed it. Okay.
You might be right that time.
No, I don't. That's what I said before. I think she sounded it out, and I think it was Sergeev.
I think it's Sergev.
If you put a sneeze in it and just go...
you just say Katie S.
Necktie.
Yeah.
I think this is like I think this should be like one of our like permanently running stingers where we just each mispronounce her last name in a different way at the end of every episode.
Well, let's be honest. There aren't many names that can be wrong as many ways as her name can. Like it could be Sire Jeff, Sire Geff, I won't go through them all, but you can imagine how many different. Imagine.
Second F could be silent. I don't know. It's very confusing.
The name is silent. Let's just go with Katie.
All right.
The Sergev is silent.
Playing for? Good luck to you all.
Yeah. Wait, who am I playing for again?
You're playing for Ben. Our buddy Ben.
All right. Let's do this, Ben.
Okay. All right, guys. Today we're going to start things off with a listener-submitted questions. You know what that fucking means? It's 2 points,
Two for right off. I like it.
Big thanks to TJ for sending this over to me. And as always, if you read a fucking cool story or something wacky, please send it over to me. I'll turn it into one of these.
Yeah, more of you should get in on this. It's I think it's satisfying
like a handful.
to try to stump us.
I've got a handful of steady people, and I adore every one of them.
Yeah.
Join my flock. Join my people.
Join us.
Christopher.bizarre
You won't be
@gmail.com.
sorry. Okay, last one. Maybe.
Okay. All right. We have a new rover on Mars, and it's even equipped with a pretty badass little drone-style helicopter that can launch and take short flights to survey the surrounding area.
Right.
There's a small detail about this little helicopter that a lot of people don't know. What is it? Is it A, that the drone itself? Now we're not talking about the rover. We're talking about the
chopper.
The helicopter.
The chopper,
yeah, the chopper. All right. The drone itself is powered by a small and impressive nuclear reactor.
Whoa.
That seems unnecessary, but what do I know?
No, you got
B,
Mars.
it can actually propel itself back into orbit for pickup if needed.
Excellent.
Oh, an orbit entering helicopter.
Escape plan.
I saw the orbit
C.
entering helicopters open for the Flaming Lips back in 1998. Come on, that's a good poll.
That was good. C. It features some major similarities to the drones that were used during the Osama bin Laden raid.
Okay.
Oh, that's outdated technology.
It seems like it, but
Get out of here.
you never know.
Or
It-
is it D?
Go down.
It has a small swatch of fabric taken from the infamous Wright brothers plane on it.
Ooh, fancy
Wow.
little like trinket. I like that.
I like that
Okay.
too. That's very poetic.
Our motorcycles, when you get into motorcycles and stuff like that, usually when you buy a Harley and you ride with a bunch of guys, it's tradition to buy them a bell. The new guy, whoever it is.
A bell?
Usually it's a bell. It's a little tiny little bell, and they sell them. You could look online and probably buy them, but what you do is you try to find a bell that kind of significance, that type of person, and you mount it right before, kind of like right behind your front tire. I have one. When I got my bike, a friend of mine bought me one, but it was a trinket. It was kind of like just a good luck charm.
Right.
And and if you do it, everybody
I
got
think Lyle's analyzing already.
Yeah, I was like, I remember why we
talking
put him
me
at the
into it.
end normally.
exactly. But how much fun is it with just me being in front? God damn, let's do this shift in awesomeness.
You can ring my bell.
What are we going with, buddy?
The trinket sounds kind of cool. I like it. I think they all should have something like that. Just a little trinket to,
Yeah, we sometimes do things like that. Like sometimes we actually are thoughtful about taking over other worlds. We do so with the trinket. Mm-hmm.
So you're going with the swatch of fabric taken from the infamous Wright brothers plane?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. But I'm gonna go with. I think
It wasn't
honestly,
Anna Lyles.
I would think that it would be able to fly back into the atmosphere to be picked up.
Okay, you're going with
Going out of-
B. It can propel itself back into orbit.
Huh.
There's a
Okay.
funny drone video. It's called The Attack. It used to be on Twitch. They're gone now, but they took a drone like
Double analyzes.
Oh, I showed you guys.
Extra
Starting to
innings.
look like a triple analyze.
Well, no, it was Thanksgiving, and they took a drone and they stuck a turkey on the drone, and they sent up what they thought would be space, and they got damn near close. You can see the curvature of the Earth and everything, and it's getting close, but it ended up breaking.
Well, see, that's what I'm trying to
Great.
think is like, what is stopping you? I don't know how it works. Like, what would stop a helicopter from going?
What's the atmosphere? It's the atmosphere.
I
The
know, but
air
what-
gets too thin, and the propellers can't spin
Oh,
enough.
yeah. Okay. Well, I
This is
actually,
close. Cool.
I was leaning toward it already, but Anna Lyles, I think even pushed me further. I'm gonna hope. It's probably too much to hope for, but I'm gonna hope that they got a little tag of the Wright brothers plane in there. you deserve an award for thinking that one up if they didn't do it, because that's the kind of shit that we should always be doing, right? Like it's a little.
Yeah.
It's a respect. I like that it's respecting history along with the future, which we don't often do.
Mm-hmm. All right, John Mark. What's it going to be, baby? You going to zig when you're going to zag?
Nuclear power plant.
Oh, you're going with the nuclear option.
Honey.
Okay, I'll put you down for an A.
Wow.
Okay, all over the board here. I love it.
Yeah.
Man. Let me go up and put some scoresies down.
Ring my bell.
Question 2. By 2100, it's projected that climate change will have made this statement a reality. This is just based off of a study, but they say it's very likely. If we stay the course, this will be very likely. Is it A? We'll have to increase our tornado size chart from a maximum of F5 to a maximum of F10.
Oh,
and then MF. Let's go back to MF1. We got an MF1 coming.
We'll have to double the way we measure tornadoes, basically.
Okay.
Is it B? California will have identical weather to Washington State.
That would suck for them because they got the best weather, even though they got
that makes
shit.
Me think, what do we got? I guess we would have Alaska at that point. Yeah, maybe even higher. It seems
no,
like about
San Francisco's like 7 all year round.
Yeah, fuck that.
Is it C? We will experience approximately a 50% increase in lightning strikes.
50%.
50%
doesn't do well.
Do you think it's because people drag their feet too much?
They're too much in the future. We are wearing
way more static
staticky shoes.
I bet you laugh. Or is it D? Our daily sunsets will feature vibrant red skies at least 60% of the time. One of these things is real. The rest I just fucking made up, motherfuckers. Okay.
You get it down.
Wow. What is it, baby?
You know what I like to see? I like to see
I'm going to kick back and let you take me there, Lyle.
Yeah, let's all light up whatever we got.
Light it up. You just got done taking your motorcycle on a nice little ride. You got the hair blowing in your wind and your hands a little shaky from that motorbike going brop, brop, brop. And you pull over to the side of the road and you look at that beautiful sunset. That's 60% more red.
What's the Pink Floyd song, Two Suns in the Sunset?
That's the one.
That's not about global warming, but it's about nuclear annihilation. That works for that, though.
Now, Lau, I'm hesitant to put you down for D here because I feel like the zag is coming.
I'm finished. That's cool.
You going with the sunset? You going with the more vibrant red skies? Okay, cool. Thanks. All right, Ronster.
I'm sorry. Could you remind me of the first 3?
Yes. We will have to increase our tornado size chart, basically double it. California will have identical weather to Washington State. We will experience approximately a 50% increase in lightning strikes, or the sun will be more vibrant and red when they're setting.
There's something about the tornado. And I do hope that rather than going to F6, I hope they started over with MF1. Here comes the motherfucker.
Me too. I'm going to write a letter.
Through 5.
Requesting. Yeah.
Jesus, can you imagine? Like
MF5.
bigger tornadoes than the biggest ones we've ever seen. Yikes.
Okay, John Mark.
That's the scariest to me.
The whole time I was thinking like 2100. None of us are going to be alive. And I feel like the way things are going, possibly no people will be alive. So that's all I was thinking the whole time. I was like, well, there's going to be nobody around to experience any of this shit. But I'm going with the red sunsets.
Shit. I'm feeling bad about my choice now. Yeah, it is. We need to get on the same page with where we're headed concerning global warming, because going back to last week's discussion about not all science is the same science, we're all over the fucking map. You know, some people say in 20 years, it's too late to do anything about it. Or if we don't do anything about it now in 20 years, blah, blah, blah. We're all the fuck over the map with global warming. We need a more consistent model. It's too easy for people to tune out when you have this many variations in it.
It's true. Okay, question 3.
Two suns in the sunset.
Maybe you're not.
Sunset going down.
I'm sorry. The Pink Floyd, The Final Cut is an underrated album. Go ahead.
It's such a good album. Yeah, I love it.
All right, maybe you're not too keen on the new tests coming out of China that require an anal swab to detect if you have COVID. I don't know.
That's right.
Have no fear. A Dutch inventor has come up with a new way to accurately find out, well, semi-accurately find out if you have COVID, though it's not entirely sure if the new test he's generated will ever become a viable option. It is interesting. How does this test work? Is it A? The test is simply a urinal cake that changes to an alarming-looking red if you are infected with COVID while you pee on it.
Well, that's not good. I'm having flashbacks. No.
What does it just stay that color so the person that pees after you is like, that motherfucker positive.
I'm a little upset because I had a freaking COVID test this weekend and I didn't enjoy it at all. I found it very uncomfortable.
Yeah. I hear it's gotten a little bit better, but it's never going to be pleasant to get your fucking nose swabbed. Yeah. All right. Urinal cake. Okay. That's the one to beat.
Well, it's a red urinal cake.
It'd be alarming, wouldn't it? You don't want to see anything red at the bottom of your toilet.
No.
Okay, is it B, by administering a, quote, bad smells, quote, smelling test? I know it's a little fake.
Okay.
Well, it's because you're not supposed to smell if you have COVID.
Yeah, but that's not universal, right? That's not everybody that gets COVID.
That's usually...
This bad smells one. Anyways, yeah.
No, it's just a random symptom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Because, I mean, that's like dumb
Couldn't
science.
hurt. Could get you on the right point. Right,
but I know, like, that's stupid science right there.
You hear that, Chris? That's a stupid science answer right there.
Sorry, Chris.
Watch it be the right one.
It's
I love it when I get to rub
fucking time.
Is it C, by analyzing the earwax obtained via a Q-tip swab?
Oh, that's
that sounds more pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty actually they wouldn't have to get too deep. You wouldn't have to be all like fucking rapey with it like they do with the nose swab.
Right. Could you take a shower and then let them do it? And you just like
no, they're gonna need that early morning wax.
Oh,
pre Q-tip.
Because there is a sensual feeling about like once you get out of the shower and you grab one of those Q-tips and you start cleaning out your ears and your foot starts tapping a certain beat and you're like, whoa, that's some good stuff.
Okay.
I guess some of us like swabbing more than others.
No doubt.
That is a toe tapping swab I just did right there. Do you ever swab so deep that it makes you cough? That's when you've gone too far.
Swabbing? Are we talking about something else?
You're not supposed to swab past that first part of your ear. Of course, I do it all the time. But yeah, it's a dangerous thing, swabbing. We over swab.
Don't go deep. Enjoy it on the outer rim.
The test subject stands in a booth and screams as loud as they can.
The infected or just somebody random?
That's how they're tested for COVID. You stand in a booth and scream as loud as you can.
Wow.
So again,
this is hard. I was expecting one of them to make sense.
There's a test that has been developed. It's a Dutch inventor. It's an accurate test. How does it work? Is it A? It's a urinal cake that changes color if you're infected and you pee on it. Is it B? It's a bad smelling test. Is it C? Analyzing earwax via a Q-tip. Or D? Stand in a booth and scream as loud as you can.
Wow. The only thing that makes sense is the earwax because it's actually connected to your head. You know what I mean? If you're going to get an infection or some type of
it seems like that could be
sickness,
kind of a mucusy thing. Yeah,
it would be kind of your ear canal is connected to a lot of things and in your head, there's a lot of organs and glands and everything that's through there, so it's highly possible that it could
that COVID could be in your earwax.
Possible. That's my guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm leaning toward that
Okay.
too. The only other thing that I'm torn between that and the smelling test. I know the smelling test seems like a logical. It's kind of like a breath or a field sobriety test. Like they do a bunch of things, but not everyone gets tipsy when they're drunk. Not everyone, but there's the pupil thing, and then there's ultimately the breathalyzer test. I don't know why we just don't skip straight to the fucking breathalyzer test, but so I could see some people thinking that would do it, but I still feel like that's a rare enough occurrence. It doesn't happen in everybody. I'm going to go with Lyle on this one. I'm going earwax. I feel like that's all connected to the same mucusy, whatever's making mucus and wax and liquids up there in your head. That makes sense to me.
Okay. Joe Mark?
Head liquids.
Head liquid.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the earwax too.
Okay.
It's probably not the right one. We probably all whiffed on this, but
yeah,
it's the one that makes sense to me in my mind. So
that's what's
what
tripping me up. It's the one that makes sense. We shall
because we're probably
see.
just a bunch of dumbasses, but whatever.
Yeah, no,
who knows
what
what they're going to discover in all the this research.
Yeah, this is not the game to follow later on. By the
way, I would have gone with it anyway. I was torn between that and the sniffing. I'm sure they're doing that in some places, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's it.
Well, it's stupid because like in dialysis, I get that. Well, we got that. Like they would ask you questions like that. Can you taste anything? Can you smell this? Like, can you smell stuff bad? And like, what are you talking about? They were basically coaxing symptoms of COVID and asking if you basically are, have it or not. Because they couldn't test everybody that went into dialysis, so it's just like you're on your word.
Oh yeah, well sure, yeah.
Yeah.
That's always the preliminary, though. They ask you about your symptoms. Like,
yeah, I mean, we're required to even at the casino. I mean,
they would do that before they would even test you for a while.
They could test you, but
I'm sure they could.
Eventually, I think they did just start testing. You could just get a test if you wanted, but remember in the early days, you had to. I had a cold early on in COVID. Sarah had a few, and she would call in. She's like, "Nah, you don't need to come get tested." It's like, okay, but she has cold symptoms, and the COVID, for the most part, is a cold symptom type thing. I found that really annoying, and it was one of my biggest. I was never really conspiracy minded about this thing, but that was one thing that was always like, but why are they? But why, if this is really a pandemic, why aren't we just testing every fucking buddy? Anyway. We pretty much ended up.
Well, they didn't have the tests available at the time.
Yeah, but they did here. Like you could go get tested, and they're just like, there's all these tests just sitting there. And then you heard about people getting tested over and over and over again because they knew the right things to say. It was just, I don't know. I found it strange. I found it not behavior that I'd like to see when there's a global fucking pandemic. But I guess
people, Ron.
Limited
people
resources.
People.
That's probably
suck.
ultimately the real answer. You're dealing with people just like anything else. All right, moving on.
Truth. All right, moving on a lighter note here. Question 4 is a guilty pleasure question. I don't know if you remember this, but I threw this into the mix a month ago or so. It's a question where I particularly like the answers or question itself. Hence the name. It's a guilty pleasure question. Worth 2 points if you get it right.
Let's go.
Okay, recently, R&B legend Usher, and his entourage took a trip to Vegas. They took a little. Well, I don't know. Maybe he lives in the area. I don't know if he was on a trip or not, but they took a trip to the strip club in Vegas, more specifically. They spent some quality time there, and when it was all said and done, it was reported that A, Usher paid the DJ over $10,000 to play only tracks off his new album all night.
Okay, yeah.
B, Usher used money to tip strippers that had been modified to feature his face, aka Usher Bucks.
Well, what?
That's assault. That's degrading.
Is it C, Usher himself got up and did a 16.5-minute strip routine choreographed to, you guessed it, Usher songs?
Uh-uh.
15 minutes?
16 and a half.
The dude's ripped, or at least he was last time I saw him, which was probably like 10 years ago. People who are cut love to take their clothes
wallpaper. Last time I glanced up.
Yeah. Let's just take a look at this life-size Usher cutout. Mm-hmm.
Or is it D, Usher's best friend married a stripper on stage and Usher officiated? One of these things is reported to have happened.
That is a unique type of wedding usher. Mm-hmm.
2 points at stake here.
It's so much.
Got,
it just kills me.
Boy, this is devastating.
For me, I don't know. You don't want to be. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I want to be married in a strip club. I mean, that's kind of more of a Vegas thing.
Well, but there are people out there that would love to get married in a strip club just to say they got married in a strip club. But if you're Usher's best friend and you could invite Usher, now you got a story.
Well, plenty of those people out there.
But I'm thinking, if I was his age, which I was at one time, and I was partying, having a good time, and I had a few drinks in me, and of course, I guarantee I might get up my little 16-minute dance along with my helicopter dig out. I probably would. So I'm going to go with the dance routine.
Isn't Usher older than us? I feel like Usher's older than us.
He's probably more likely just the fucking place for the night. This is my play my music.
Well, he's not wrong. He's not wrong in saying that he was the same age as him at one point, right? Like,
well,
technically,
correct.
Sure. Well, not if he's older than us.
Yeah. Well, if he's older than us, he was the same age at one point in time, right? They were both two.
At one point, I was the same age as Usher.
They were both
at one point.
At one point, they were both
and Hitler. Yeah.
At one point, we were all 5 years old.
You know, me and Hitler were the same age at one point.
At some point, we were all 5 years old. Isn't that right? Like,
gotcha.
See what I'm saying?
See it?
Okay. Going.
I do. Right. I could literally see it.
Don't ruin my guilty pleasure question.
I looked it up. Usher is 42, so either way it plays. Yeah.
All right. Again, okay, I got Lyle's answer. It was he got up and did a strip routine to Usher songs.
Yeah. I'm going to go with that he... Oh, he went with... Oh, he did
Lyle
go with
went with... he danced to Usher songs.
Yeah, I was going to go with that one too. I'm going to stick with that one.
Okay.
I thought he was going with the wedding one for some reason.
John Mark, what do you got?
I'm going to go with Usher Bucks because it seems like somebody with that much money doesn't really know what money means anymore, so they could fuck around with that kind of shit. That's what I'm going with.
Did he do It's Getting Hot in Here?
Yeah.
Take off all your clothes. He did that, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel bad saying yeah. I'm not sure.
Because if so, then that's the...
I don't watch that show.
That's the perfect fucking stripper song right there.
Right.
All right, let's go over the answers here. See who won tonight. Again, question 1 was a listener submitted question, so it's going to be worth 2 points. A small detail about the little helicopter that a lot of people don't know, the helicopter that took off from the rover that's on Mars here, is that it features a small swatch of fabric taken off the infamous Wright brothers plane. NASA asked the museum for, if they'd be willing to donate it, and they tore off it's like a 1.5 by 1.5 inch piece from one of the wings, and they secured it to it in a neat fashion. I don't have a picture of it. I wish I did, but
that's awesome.
I thought that was so freaking cool as well. I really enjoyed that. So 2 points, Ronster, right off the bat.
That's exciting. By the way, it's Nelly who's saying it's getting hot.
That's why I thought it was the Band-Aid guy, right? Nelly was the Band-Aid guy, right? Where the Band-Aid on
I
his
don't
cheek.
know. I wouldn't recognize.
Yeah, well,
that sounds familiar. A Band-Aid. Yeah.
John Mark,
who was the thong guy? Who was the thong guy?
Cisco.
The what guy?
The thong song.
Thong.
Oh, yeah. Good Lord. Late 90s, early 2000s.
Oh, yeah.
There's some memorable shit.
What a time to be alive.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
What the fuck did Usher do?
I don't know.
All that
terrible
music
R&B.
sounded so that, especially that
Just
era
let it happen.
of
Just let it
R&B.
happen.
I do remember bang 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 bang.
That was Missy. Wasn't that Missy Elliott?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that was definitely. Well, wasn't it? I thought it was Missy
Oh.
Elliott. Yeah.
Maybe we should stop.
Bang 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 bang. Yeah,
Cool.
awesome.
Okay. By 2100,
Cool.
it's projected that if we maintain the current course, climate change will have made this statement a reality. We were talking about a 50% increase in lightning strikes.
Wow.
We're seeing
What?
a
I
lot
don't think anyone
a lot
wanted
more
that.
lightning strikes.
People were dragging their feet around.
Yeah, Lyle was on.
Did we all
something.
whiff that? Or
Whiffed
Fly
that
I
one.
think that.
No,
Yeah, whiffed it.
I didn't get it. Nobody got it. It's a whiffer.
Yeah.
whiffer.
50% more lightning strikes.
Yeah,
Means
I don't have. I should. I should have really read up more on exactly why that's going to happen, but I didn't. I didn't.
Yeah,
But it's in
well,
an
Well,
article.
who cares? We won't be here, huh?
More people
Problem for
shuffling
my kid's
around
kid.
like zombies, probably, right?
That's a problem for Usher 4.0.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Usher the third.
It's
Okay.
getting hot in here. I apologize to Usher and Nelly, but come on, I don't listen to that fucking shit. And I never saw him, so it's not like I'm doing
It's getting cold in here.
It's
I'm in a
getting
nuclear
cold in here,
winter.
and lightning's twice
mean-
as much. Yeah.
You mean you never saw Nelly open for Usher back in whenever the fuck that they were doing that shit?
Oddly enough, I didn't. Mhm.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how that doesn't happen.
2004.
Okay, and we have a new COVID test created by a
Hey,
Dutch
hang on, before we
inventor
move
that-
on, I'm hearing like a tapping noise or something.
Yeah, it's my foot going. It's sitting so hot.
Oh.
in here.
Is that
Come
your
on,
foot?
talk
You
about
guys
I
hearing it?
just spit. I just fucking spit White Claw. Yeah,
Nice.
I'm gonna spit some claw.
Aim to try.
Wow,
Sorry.
wow, just fucking bebop into.
Oh, is it me?
Yeah,
What could it be?
it's not me.
I think it's me.
I've been muted, guys, so it's not
Sorry,
fucking
guys, that
me.
was me.
So get fucked.
It was on my
Get
something on
wrecked.
my mic. Here, I'm gonna do it.
Sorry.
Oh, of course, it's like when when you slide off a leather chair and you make a fart noise, and you go to do it again to prove that you didn't fart, and it's silence.
Oh,
That's what just
that's
happened.
horrible.
But I'm pretty sure it was me. Anyway,
Okay. New test come out. Well, did we already go through that? Yeah, we did. Dutch inventor. What kind of new COVID test is going to be available? Probably not really viable, but accurate. And we were talking about the subject stands in a booth and screams as loud as they can.
Spit particles, you think?
Yep, it's just basically the projection,
What the fuck?
breath, and
This
air.
is
And
bullshit. This game is rigged.
well, they,
Fucking
Yeah.
that
rigged.
couldn't happen from just spitting.
normally it's rigged. Normally it's rigged for you, John Mark. What happened?
Why couldn't they just get that for a what's magical about screaming? That it would come from
I don't
deeper?
So much air, I guess. It
Well,
gets
it's
expended
particles
to
from
the
your
small
lungs.
booth.
Come
yeah.
from deep in your lungs.
Right,
where
but
all
wouldn't
the
it be in
fucking
your
COVID's
mucus and your
hanging
saliva
out?
at that point?
Well,
I
yeah,
don't know
but
if
they
fucking
would-
shit.
Oh,
Outside.
yeah.
It sounds like a bunch of horse shit to me.
Don't fucking
Yeah.
damage
Maybe
your
it's
vocal
partially-
cords.
Man, some
It's partial therapy too.
goddamn witch.
Yeah, I want you to yell, "Fuck! I have it."
Fuck 2020. I still feel like I'm in 2020, guys.
Well, we
Okay.
kind of
so
are
sorry.
still in 2020.
Was a whiff on that one too. Lastly, the guilty pleasure 2-point question. Usher and his entourage took a trip to a Vegas strip club, and it's reported that I have a picture. I'm gonna send right over to you guys. If I can fucking figure this out. Space pop.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
He left behind Usher bucks.
Isn't that such a dick
And,
move, though?
there was some speculation that at first that this is what he tipped with and it was fake, and then somebody came back and said no, that they were left by like his entourage and they were real, that they'd been altered or something like that. It wasn't a dick move, and it wasn't Usher necessarily that did it, but it still came from that.
That was the only answer that I didn't really understand
But
what you're
that's still
saying.
not
His
cash that's
camp.
going to be accepted, right?
Well, I mean, yeah. I don't if
But
I don't
good
know
luck.
if it.
Good luck going to 7-Eleven with
Yeah.
Usher
Well,
bucks.
it's no different. It's no different than someone like drawing like Spock's face on a fucking whatever. You know what I mean? It's the same
Sure.
thing. Like,
This is
But it's-
different.
It's still illegal.
This looks like a. I mean, it's got Usher on. I would if someone handed me that, no matter how real it looked and felt. Otherwise, I could. There's no way I would accept that. Like when I was working at Radar, someone handed me $100 bill to pay for their tab. I'd be like,
I think this
the
was
fuck outta here.
left on a. I think this was left on tables at the strip club as they were like walking out. You know.
well, the
like
the
tip.
little tweet here, or whatever that goes along with the caption says, "Ladies, what would you do if you danced all night for Usher and he threw you this?" I'm feeling like there's vitriol behind that. Like she's like, "Look what this fucker did." Is that not
I
the
think
slant of the story?
No.
I think
No,
I think it's
that's how it came out
I think it's a
initially.
clickbait. It's a clickbait caption.
Oh, okay.
And I think what happened was they paid their bill. They actually tipped the dancers, and then they just put those down on the tables as like a calling card kind of thing.
Yeah. So these aren't actual. This isn't actual money.
At first,
No, it's
I
real
thought-
money.
Yeah,
I'm so
I think that it was
confused.
like, yeah,
It's
think
it's
it's been
real money,
modified
but they modified it to be like, oh, we're so fucking rich that we can just like leave this little calling card with our face on it, and it's cool. Kind of.
For anyone who can't see this, this is not like they pulled out a Sharpie and tried and doodled like a little fucking. There is
it could,
using.
it could be a vinyl sticker.
They
Could be a
matched
vinyl
like the
sticker.
fonts of money and it says Usher, the Las Vegas residency, instead of the United States of America, and there are other little symbols on there. This looks like fake money.
It
Well,
could be.
I
Fake.
guess I just
maybe
don't.
I have that. Maybe I have that detail wrong.
Well, I might be wrong, but it's like illegal to face money.
Yeah,
to
well,
do-
that's one of those laws
money.
that no one ever really holds
Yeah,
up.
but nobody fucking.
But the takeaway for me
You're
is
doing
like
fucking
if someone
bad.
earned this money that they can't spend, yeah, I don't know, strange move, but well, here we are talking about it, so maybe not that bad of a move after all.
Usher bucks. I'm
Usher
gonna get on
bucks.
eBay. And
Who
bid-
knows?
bid-
At this point,
bid on-
Usher bucks are probably worth more than face value at that point, right? I mean,
I
it's a famous.
I could see like a Ronster dollar floating out there. You know.
A Ronster dollar is definitely worth lower.
I bet you anything that those fucking Usher bucks are going to be sold on eBay for way more than the face value of what the actual thing would have been worth. Yeah.
That's the kind
I'm
of world
already,
we
I'm
live
already
in.
$68 deep on my bids. So
Fuck cryptocurrency. I'm going to Usher currency. It's getting
okay, so here's
hot
the
in
deal,
here.
guys.
So sing one of my actual songs. I really don't know. I'd love to sing some Usher, but I don't think I know any Usher. All that music
Okay,
jumbles
so we have
in
a
my
tie.
fucking head. Oh, we have a tie?
The tie between
The
because
fuck
Ron,
with
you
Usher
got
bucks?
it too. Yeah, John Mark did. He
I
clearly knew
did.
details on the story. Did you not? He went with
I
Usher bucks.
read the story. I read the story.
Oh.
Sad to say.
My God.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay, so we have a tie. So Katie and Ben, we're gonna see how this pans out here. I'm actually really pleased there's a tie, and I'm really eager to see how this pans out because I fell down a rabbit hole the other day, and I came up with this small tidbit that blew my mind. And so, what didn't blow my mind, but just something I didn't understand. So here we go. Get your phones out. You're gonna open up a one-way message to me, just me. It's gonna
Take
be
a
who
picture
can
of
come
your dick.
closest.
On
Yeah.
Messenger? Okay.
Right.
All of it.
Can I send you that message? You know.
Lyle,
Yeah.
you're out of it.
Lyle, you can compete if you want to. I'll just read yours last, and you're not in it to win it, obviously.
That's fair.
All right. How tall is the Great Sphinx in Egypt?
Ooh,
For reference,
Lyle
the
might be
Space
good at this.
Needle, the Space Needle in Seattle is 605 feet tall.
And he didn't say sphincter. He said sphinx.
That is good reference. The Sphinx. Whew, okay. Well,
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Lyle,
feel
did you
like Lyle
want to chime in?
might have
Yeah.
this.
Okay, so Lyle said 1,000 feet. He went
Oh,
high.
shit.
Well,
Great.
10
I hope he
stories.
went high.
John Mark said 285 feet. Ronster said 50 feet. The correct answer is 66 feet. It's not very tall. It's actually quite compared to the
Yeah, well, you got to
pyramids
think that the
especially.
pyramids tower over them.
Oh, yeah.
And all the other structures
Only
tower
66 feet. There was a time I saw somebody posted, and the reason I fell down this rabbit hole was somebody actually had posted a photo of air balloon photo of the Great Sphinx before they had like uncovered it. It was still covered in sand, so like the sand came up to halfway up its body. It was wild.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking my house.
It's hard to get a perspective on like what that actually was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Right. That's why it blew my mind.
Well, I was
like,
thinking
oh
my
God,
house is almost 30 feet tall at the tallest part.
Yeah,
so two of
it's
those
like double that. Yeah,
was about
plus.
what I was thinking. It seemed like just based off photos. Yeah, nice.
Well, Ronster, congratulations.
Congratulations.
More importantly
Ben.
to Katie.
Mhm.
Clap,
No, I'm
clap,
sorry.
clap, clap.
Ben.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, not to Katie. Sarah E. Gayfie. The Worcestershire sauce of last names.
Chipoodle.
Sure. Well, that was fun. Good tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Egypt.
Right.
Well, so how big is the pyramid? Do you know off the top of your head?
No. I did go look. I just can't remember what it is now.
I'll look it up real quick and then we'll get out of here. Out of curiosity. How tall are the Great Pyramids?
285 feet.
You guys want to take a guess? I got it right in front of me. Well, now knowing what you know about the Sphinx should help.
I would say 1,500 feet. No, 15,500 feet.
So
I'm gonna go.
You could probably go
300.
I'm gonna guess 325.
Chris was the closest. It was 451 feet.
You might as well have just said 301. Come on.
I should have 301, Bob.
Yeah.
301, Drew.
Interesting. I bet a lot of people would guess higher for those. I bet a lot of folks listening learned a little something tonight, which they don't usually do on this show.
Well,
400 is pretty fucking tall.
What Chris was originally saying when he found those pictures of the Sphinx when it was covered and the only thing that was left by the head, that's when they found it in 1920 when they found it. The amazing thing is that shit could have been buried and never been found at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just imagine how much shit's that's out in that desert, especially with like the Valley of the Kings and stuff like that. I mean, they're still finding mummies and stuff out there from different legacies of, kings and stuff. So it's pretty crazy.
The Empire State Building, for another reference, is 1,400 feet. So even that's not 1,500. So, yeah, I think that we have made them bigger in our minds because they are awesome in other ways. I mean, they're big, no question about it. But I think most people would guess bigger than they are. Interesting. It's always interesting, too, to see the different angles of the pyramids. Like you can see them where they're sort of isolated in that almost timeless parsec of sand that has been left relatively ancient looking. And then from the other angle, you can see like the modern city that's surrounding it. It's always disorienting to see that. And I bet it's really strange to see them in person.
Well, they're nothing like they were. I mean, the limestone, they used to be encased in limestone. So they were completely smooth. If you look at it now, there's zero limestone. It's all been taken and they've built, Cairo and shit with it. So it's like to see what it was. I mean, you almost have to get a time machine or just fucking fantasize.
I suppose so. Yeah.
It was amazing to look at, man. It was all limestone.
The idea of getting in a time machine and going back and looking at
with the gold
historical things happening.
Could you imagine? I mean, it's just beautiful fucking stone all the way to the top, and then you have the fucking gold cap. It had been just something to see. Real
quick before we get out of here, what would you take your time machine back to? I feel like we may have had this question before, but I can't remember, and I don't know my answer right off the top of my head. JFK's assassination is an interesting one, but I might go back and see if the whole Jesus thing was real, happened the way they said. Watch some of that shit. That'd be kind of a life-changing one.
You just sit at the rock. You just sit at the rock and just wait for him to come out. Hey,
yeah,
coming.
Why do you seek the living among the dead? Mm-hmm.
Easter already. Come on.
It's really hard not to want to. It just sounds terrible, but to see historical things that have happened that are tragedies, because those are the things I think about a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I definitely would love. I mean, love is not the right word. if I was going to go back and watch something that happened in history, I'd probably want to see what the Titanic going down actually looked like.
Really? Interesting.
I know. Was that fucking terrible? Like, remember that time I got super stoned and I watched the 3.5 hour real time Titanic thing going down. I was like, I was just
that's hypnotizing watching that.
Yeah.
You could still get a ticket and go on the.
I could. The
Titanic
revival
2.0. What
Face
could
my
possibly
fears.
go wrong? Lyle, what about you?
There's nothing in America that actually fucking even sparks an interest. I mean, like,
well, yeah,
nothing.
I mean, the real history has happened. Well, not that we don't have interesting history, but I mean,
I'm not saying like Boston and the Tea Party and shit would be very cool. Hey, I'm sure it'd be cool, but like, it's not going to be
would be signing of the Declaration of Independence.
That would be kind of cool. But like I said, nothing really screaming out to me on like the United States soil. I would say maybe Greece before the Romans took over and destroyed it.
Something in the Colosseum.
Well, no, that's
like later when the Romans, but like something like one of those gladiator shows, like an actual authentic gladiator show. Oof.
No, before Greece was taken over by the Romans, it was different. The Romans made it into the Colosseums and the fighting lions and stuff like that. It was more of I
hijacked your story.
Well, it was more of a I want to say the missing island that everybody's looking for that never existed.
Atlantis?
It was similar to Atlantis. It was more everybody kind of lived together peacefully, but it was all education too. There was a lot of reading and books and stuff. When the Romans came in and took over Greece, they burned all their books. They destroyed all their livelihood.
I said quickly, Lyle.
Well, I mean, that's where I would go. I'd go right prior to that.
You want to see ancient Greece? Yeah, that's that just ancient anything intrigues me. I also might go back and see the Druids or the building of Stonehenge. John Mark?
I would want to go. I think I would want to go back and see what the people lived like. The people that painted those. I can't remember the name of the documentary is. That's that Werner Herzog one about the cave paintings that they discovered in France. Probably like the most famous cave paintings.
Yeah.
I would want to go back to that time and see who those people were and what they lived like and what their life was like, at that point in history.
Fuck y'all, I'm feeling really self-conscious about my choice.
Going back and watching 2,000 people die. Whatever.
Yeah.
Well, my second,
it's legitimate.
Yeah.
Well, it's about your time, Ron. It would be like during the time of Christ but like in Egypt. Would be really cool to see.
Yeah, and like the pharaohs. Egypt is like the era of the pharaohs, like Ramses II era. Cleopatra sitting up in her palace or whatever. Any of that shit would be pretty amazing to actually see, because Lyle's right. Like the version of Egypt that we see as opulent and as ornate and as awe-inspiring as it is an old ghost town compared to the opulence and the gleaming glitter that those palaces must have been back in the day. That would be interesting to see. Or you could go watch a bunch of people drown. Listen, there's no wrong choice.
None of both.
You all weigh in. That could be how you comment. I'd love to hear how all of our listeners, what would you love to go back in time and see? I think it's a fun question to think about, and I'm sure when I'm lying awake tonight, laying on the bed of nails, I'll be like, "Ooh, I should have thought of this." But curious what you all would love to see actually happening before your eyes. And when we were talking about maybe signing the Declaration of Independence, how weird would it be to just like be in a room with all those founding fathers, just like hearing their banter, like they're bullshitting with each other, like typical like politicians and county workers do when they're just all in a room, like there's a function. Yeah, kind of interesting to think about, but so much history to choose from. Let us know how you would go. All right, tune in next week. 9/11, everybody.
9/11.
Bye.
I got one and it barely holds up.